Hey y'all, welcome back to Right at the Wire. Today we're going to be looking at the Sunland Derby, which is to be run on Sunday, erroneously reported by me as Saturday, so I want to correct that right away. It will be run on Sunday at Sunland Park, so let's take a look at the field. The Sunland Derby is a Grade 3 Derby prep for 3-year-olds running a mile and an eighth at Sunland Park, which is in New Mexico. For those of you who aren't familiar with it, it's about a mile track. It's roughly the same dimensions as Santa Anita or Del Mar, so the turns are a little tighter than some of the bigger tracks like Churchill Downs or Gulfstream or Belmont. A little bit on the speed favoring side, so we want to keep that in mind as we look at the field. Number one is how'd he do that? He ran in a prep for this race at in January at Sunland, and he did kind of languished in the back of the pack, and really took him a little while to get it together. And then he closed pretty well. Wasn't going to get to one in Vermilion, who was the star of the day. I'll allude to that when we get to him. But only got a 72 buyer, so really that's not an effort that's going to cut it here. However, he's been away a month and a half, almost 2 months, and the added distance definitely should help this one, particularly given his running style. So I would use him maybe under the try of the Super, and I think that's probably would be the extent of it. I think there's other horses signed on here who are a little more further along. So I would tend to think of him in terms of filling out the exotics. Low expectations. It's not often you get excited about a 4-horse race at the optional glamour level, but I'll tell you, this one impressed me a great deal. They threw the kitchen sink at this one, trying to get him off the lead. Post facto came at him on the backstretch. Zio Joe came at him at the stretch pretty hard, and he looked them both in the eye and put them away. This one's got a lot of grit and toughness, and certainly knows what he's supposed to be doing on the track, and you got to like that. Redham Racing is a first-class outfit. They own Nyquist. I'll have another. Wilco, the juvenile champ in 2004. It's a first-class outfit, and he's got Mario Gutierrez, their regular rider, on him. And the fact that he stays on him for this one, I think, is a good sign as well. I think 6-1 is an excellent price on this one, and I'm going to use this one liberally. Number 3, Fort Bragg, we've seen before. We saw him in the San Felipe and had a bit of an excuse when Hijazi blew the turn, kind of disrupted his momentum on the outside heading into the stretch. And so he didn't factor, and you can see really didn't recover from it. He got a 91 buyer; it's his career high. But really, the issue with this one, as we've belabored, it's all between the ears. You just don't know which horse is going to show up. He clearly has the talent to win this race, but I think it's likely he'll be more in the mix in the exotics. But again, he could put it all together. You're going to get an underlay any way you look at it, and you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. And I think he's a sort of an automatic use. You have to, but I'm kind of reluctant to do so because you just don't know who's going to show up. Conversely, Henry Q shows a lot of promise to me. This is the first I'd heard of this horse, but he was sold at the Keeneland September sale, which immediately implies quality. He's by Blame, and he's got Malibu Moon underneath. That's 2 turns all day. Todd Fincher's his trainer. For those of you who don't know, he's a very prominent trainer in the Southwest. He's got the stats to back it up, so he's in good hands. Now, if you look at his running lines, you can see he was a little slow to take to the task. But as the distances improved, so has his buyers. He clearly, wants 2 turns, and that met him right between the eyes in the last race to Mind That Bird. I mean, he wasn't really challenged at all. The Wild on Ice made a little bit of a move on the backstretch to try to deal with him, and he just put him away like he wasn't even there. They gave him a mild tap in the stretch. But he really didn't even need it because he was already 10 lengths ahead. I just think they wanted to make sure he got the most out of the race. His class level is improving. His buyers are improving. This horse is definitely on the upswing, and I think he's a win candidate here. And I think hopefully the Baffert horses will take a lot of the money. And so this one, the price may drift up to 7-2, 4-1, 9-2, and I think that'd be great. So I'm going to use this one up and down on my tickets. One in Vermilion is kind of up against it here. That last race was in the R. Allison was pretty good. I mean, I thought he was dead, and he was actually dropped back to third, and he found a way to re-rally to hold on to win the race. He's definitely got some grit, and he's on the improve. You can see his buyers are getting better with every race. The problem is he only got a 73 in the last race, and that's not going to cut it here. He would need a monster improvement in order to factor, especially when you consider there's other more prominent horses in this race who like to run the same way. So he's a toss for me, but I think he's a nice local horse, and I think he's going to be getting better along the way. Hard to figure. It made a quantum leap in the Bob Lewis. I don't think anybody expected him to run quite as well as he did. Put Arabian Lion away pretty easily, and granted it was only a 4-horse field, but he got 100 Beyer. That's a 37 point improvement over his previous effort. Now the thing to consider is that was only a 4-horse field. In the Bob Hope, it was a 5-horse field. In the race before that, it was a 5-horse field. So it's a little easier when you don't have as many horses to run against to improve. Granted, he's only got 7 here, but it's a fairly, talent-wise, it's pretty good. So I'm not sure that he'll be able to replicate that again. If he does, he'll win the race. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But there are other horses to give him a challenge on the front end early, which he did not get in the last race. And I'm just not sure that I think he's a major league underlay, excuse me, given the fact that Bob Baffert still trains him. And the other thing is to consider is that if this horse wins, there's no Derby points awarded because Baffert trains him. So I'd like to see the points go to a more deserving horse who actually wants to run in the Derby or can. So I'm kind of betting against him in that respect. I guess you have to use them. I would like to keep them off my tickets, but I'm going to try to limit my usage to the exotics, bottom exact or the try. I think there's others who look more primed to win. It's just a hunch I have, but I certainly can't talk you off using them. I wouldn't try. Wild on Ice just isn't good enough. That's the bottom line. Last race, he finished 20 3/4 lengths behind Henry Q. Granted, he was third, and he had a lot of trouble in that race. He did try to make it interesting early by running at Henry Q, but he was dispatched pretty easily, and he consequently had to check quite a bit on the back stretch. So it's to his credit that he was able to hang in there. But the bottom line is he's just not fast enough. The only way I think this one would ever get in the money is that some of the others fall off a hot pace and the jockeys preserve them for future efforts. And he keeps running and backs into the superfecta. Other than that, I would say he's a complete toss because he's just not good enough to factor with these. So since we have a 7-horse field, we normally have a top 5, but let's take a look at a top 4 and see what we have. Our top 5 for the Sunland Derby, or top 4 rather, I should say, are number 1, Henry Q. I think this one is poised and ready for a big effort, and I think you're going to get some decent value on him given the Bafferts that have signed on here. And I think his running style is going to fit very well with sitting just off some of the early pace runners. Number 2 is Low Expectations. Again, you're going to get some nice value. This one has grit, knows exactly what he's supposed to be doing out there, takes another jump. He could definitely factor in this race. Number 3 is Fort Bragg. Again, reluctantly, but the talent is there. If he decides to show up, then he's definitely a factor in this race. And number 4, How'd He Do That? His late running style should put him in the exotics, and hopefully we'll get a decent price. Off the layoff, I think he's likely to move forward. And since he's a closer, he should be on the bottom of the exotics. So that's our look at the Sunland Derby. It's a small field, but I think there's some nice value and betting opportunity, and hopefully our analysis has pointed it out for you. And I wish you the best of luck with your handicapping this weekend. We've got 3 preps. And also we have the UAE Derby from abroad as well. So there's going to be a lot of developments in our final Derby field, and we'll be one step closer to knowing exactly what we're going to be dealing with on the first Saturday in May. Of course, if you do like what you see here, please please like and subscribe. We really do appreciate you coming by, and I'll be talking to you soon.